I am delighted to be in the presence of the one and only Nightshade. I absolutely love that name, by the way. How did that name come about?
Oh, thank you. I always wanted a name that was like a superhero, like a villain. So I absolutely wanted like a one worded name. I didn't want to have like a first name and a surname. And I was thinking along the lines of like Poison Ivy. And it was my sister actually that came up with Deadly Nightshade. So that's how Nightshade was born.
Awesome, awesome. I'm delighted to be learning all about Nightshade. We've got loads of stuff to talk about. We've got fan questions. We're going to learn everything from wrestling and sport, loads of stuff. But as always, roll the intro. And I'm delighted to be joined by, of course, the one and only Nightshade. We're obviously on Tuesday. How's the week been?
Yeah, it's been fantastic, thank you. How's yours been?
Yeah, typical work week, do you know what I mean? Stuff like that. Nothing exciting.
I'm recovering from the weekend after a jam-packed weekend of wrestling, of course.
Of course. You was, if correct me if I'm wrong, you were at Rev Pro?
I was at Rev Pro on Sunday and I was in the Isle of Wight on Saturday.
Jesus, how did you cope with all that travelling?
Yeah, it absolutely takes it out of you. I think the Isle of Wight had to be up at 6 a.m. for the ferry, and I didn't get home until 2 o'clock in the morning. So it was almost a 24-hour day to then be up early again for Rev Pro on the Sunday. So the traveling really does exhaust you. But it's worth it.
I bet once I was in Rev Pro, didn't you? Were just like,
Yeah, literally. I was like, oh, thank goodness I'm here.
oh dear. But of course, that's obviously the perks of being a wrestler. But of course, we're talking obviously about your career today and stuff like that. I said this before we came on the air. If there's anything I ask and you're not comfortable answering, you just say next question, we move on. I did say that obviously this is live, so people might join in. We never know.
Yeah.
Dear. So let's obviously start at the beginning, shall we? So how does your career obviously start in wrestling?
Yeah, so I think it's the pretty basic story of I fell in love with wrestling and wanted to give it a go, basically. I mean, there's really not much more to it than that, I'm afraid.
Dear. So it's 20, correct me if I'm wrong, on this Connor's Cage match, you've been wrestling 10 years?
Yeah, I have. But that was, I was very young and I didn't really take it too seriously like I do now. But yeah, it's been 10 years I've been knocking around, so it's actually crazy.
Wow. And like I said, I mean, what was it like, obviously, starting up and stuff like that? I mean, what goes obviously into being a wrestler, not starting up?
Well, when I started, it was very different. It was a very different world to the way it is now. There was a lot less representation for women, and there are a lot less schools up and down the country as well. And the standard was a lot different. We're so lucky, and I don't think some people appreciate how many wrestling schools there are now in the UK. It's so easy to become a professional wrestler and try and follow your dream now. And there's also so many more companies and so many more promotions. When I started out, there weren't those huge independent shows like there are now. Like I actually attended Pressing Eve's first ever show. So that just goes to show kind of how things were so different back then. But now we've got so many incredible wrestling shows up and down the country, and we're just so lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everywhere you look, I mean, like I said, we've got obviously Right Cabaret in London, we've got Pro Wrestling Eve, which we'll talk about, Rev Pro, Progress. I mean, the list is absolutely endless. I think you're on point there, what you said.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, wherever you are, there's going to be a wrestling show near you, which is one of the best things right now. And it makes me so happy knowing that wrestling is being so shared.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to talk about obviously a couple you're obviously heavily involved in. Rev Pro, I mean, Rev Pro is obviously one of the biggest in the UK. How did it obviously start you going to Rev Pro?
Yeah, so I wrestled for Rev Pro a couple of years ago. I think I debuted there. I'm not sure of the year. I can't even remember if it was pre-COVID or post-COVID. I have a dreadful memory, honestly. It's really bad. But I have wrestled there a couple of times prior to my involvement this year there. But this year I came in and I really started to become a regular there and make a bit more of a name for myself there at Rev Pro. Whereas my last couple of appearances prior to this year, they were more just like one-offs, coming in and having a match and losing to their champion and things. So it's been really amazing to be part of a big storyline. And I just cannot wait for it all to come to a head at the Copper Box Arena in 2 weekends' time.
You're going to absolutely destroy it. I'm sure you will.
Thank you.
Not
Thank
a
you.
problem. So you earlier on you mentioned obviously about the women's division, obviously in the UK. Now that is pretty stacked right now. You know what I mean? You've got Lizzie, you've got Alexis, you've got yourself. Obviously, I mean, there's so many women I could absolutely name. It's absolutely incredible the women's division in the UK.
It really is. I think it's one of the best women's divisions anywhere. We are so lucky. We've got so many incredibly talented women. And like you say, you know, we could be here for the entirety of the podcast if we listed every single one of them. But Pro Wrestling Eve is an incredible example. Of course, they're an all women's company and promotion, and they showcase some of the absolute best talent on the scene right now. And they also showcase a lot of international talent as well.
And the good thing is obviously about yourself is you've obviously worked with a lot of obviously women, obviously like across the pro wrestling. I mean, you've got to be proud of that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I love meeting new girls that are wrestling, and I just love meeting new wrestlers because we're all so passionate and we all just absolutely love what we do and want to have, or the majority at least, just want to have the best matches and to just have an amazing time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And earlier on, obviously, you mentioned like heel and stuff like that. Is it face or heel for you, or do you have to if you have to pick one?
Oh, villain all the way. Absolute big bad villain Nightshade in the house. There is no question for me. Although I must admit, it has been quite fun being cheered as part of Operation SAS in Pro Wrestling Eve with my tag team partner Sky Smithson. I don't know what she does to me. I don't know how she brings it out of me, but actually, oh, look at us there. I'm looking at her so lovingly. But I don't know how she does it to me, but I've actually quite enjoyed hearing that those cheers have actually helped me get through some of those rough parts of the matches where I've been feeling so sore. So that has been a nice difference.
Absolutely. And I'd obviously you obviously started working with obviously Sky because obviously she's a great talent as well. I mean, like I said earlier on, we could go through spend a whole hour talking about the women's division, but how did obviously you end up obviously working with her?
I've been close to Sky for many years now, but we first started working together when I was part of the faction in Pro Wrestling Eve called The Uprising. That was myself, Rhea O'Reilly, and Livy Grace. And we decided at Wrestle Queendom to recruit a new member, and that was Sky Smithson. So Sky came into the team there, and there were 4 of us, so it was a fatal 4-way stable faction. But since then, you know, she went on to have tag team matches with Rhea O'Reilly, and herself and Rhea were also the tag team champions. But ever since we recruited her for the Uprising, I just knew that we had chemistry, and I've just absolutely loved working with her. And I'm really, really pleased that we've had this time to be able to explore being a team, just the 2 of us. Because even though I love big factions of strong women. It can be a little bit chaotic at times. So it's nice to just have myself and Sky, and I feel like we really, really understand each other in the tag team world.
There you go. There you go. That's a great, great answer and stuff like that. So, any injuries? I mean, so far in the 10 years, I'm presuming you've had injuries.
Yeah, yeah. I had probably my worst injury was in 2021. I believe just after wrestling, we came back to wrestling from the big COVID coronavirus break, and I broke my ankle in 3 places.
Ooh.
That was a really, really tough injury. And more so, I found more difficult than actually the physical injury was the mental. You know, not being able to wrestle. It made me not want to watch wrestling. I didn't go to, I don't think I went to any wrestling shows whilst I was injured. I think I just couldn't bring myself to do it. And yeah, being injured is like one of the worst things in the world. Like literally, like to think that you can go from being on such a high, having the most incredible weekends, having the most incredible matches, being around all of your friends, doing what you literally love and adore as your job, to then the next minute you're on the bench for you don't know how long. You don't some injuries you don't know if you're ever even going to make it back. So it's really, really tough. And it's scary thinking that every single time we step foot into a ring, regardless of whether that's a match or training, that you could get seriously injured. But it's something that we're all well aware of the risks. And, you know, we still, for some reason, do it because we absolutely love it. But I've also had, so that was my most serious injury. I also tore the ligaments in my ankle years back. I also have suffered with a couple concussions. And I think that's been the majority, yeah, of my injuries.
And I think that answer you said there, that it's the unknown part, not knowing obviously when you're coming back from injury. It is probably obviously the frustrating part, because it's like you just mentioned there, it's something you enjoy doing. It's essentially it's your career essentially,
Yeah,
which I thought.
absolutely.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt then.
Oh no, no, of course not. Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, and the difficult thing with injuries as well is that, you know, everyone expects to go on and have a life after wrestling, whereas some wrestlers are just so injured that actually that isn't much of a possibility for them. You know, so it's not only can you be I know I'm talking about extreme cases, but it's like not only can you be injured enough that you can't return back to wrestling, but your whole life can change, you know?
Wow, that is probably one of the best answers I've ever had, for that type of thing. So thank you for that.
Yeah, well, it's one of my biggest fears, like getting properly injured. And I think we all love and appreciate the wrestling, but I think sometimes people don't actually appreciate like kind of how tough and how scary it is. And so, like, even look about how many people on the UK scene have been out with injuries. I know they've been able to come back and be fit and healthy again, but you know there are examples where life isn't necessarily the same afterwards, and every single one of us, whether you love them or you hate them, or you love to hate them, or you know they're not your favorite for some reason, like every single one of us, we genuinely are risking our health for the love of this wild sport, entertainment, you know, whatever you want to call it.
I think even match types as well. I mean, obviously, if you're in like a tag team match, like a no DQ match as well, John, is all that obviously taken into consideration. So it's, I think as a wrestler, it's got to take like a big like mental thing, to do it as well. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely, definitely.
Awesome, awesome. So, what's some obviously your highlights from obviously the year? What's things you can look back now that you're like, wow, I'm proud of that.
I'm so proud that I have main evented at Pro Wrestling Eve, not just once, but twice. I main evented there twice, in first time in the War Games match, and secondly, just 2 weekends ago, with my tag team partner Sky, defending our championships in a street fight match. So that's something I've been really proud of this year, and something that I've just absolutely loved. I've also been lucky enough to wrestle in France, Spain, and Germany so far this year. And being at Rev Pro York Hall is something that I was very excited for, and I'm even more excited and proud for the Copper Box. And I am so excited that everybody now knows the news about World of Sport as well. I feel like this year is just going so well for me, and I'm just so pleased with how everything's going so far.
That's kind of weird, that, because one of the fans' question was actually, how do you feel about the revival? And I've actually got your image here, which is kind of cool.
Ooh.
Dear. So yeah, how do you feel about the revival? Because obviously it was obviously big, and it is. I think it's a 2-day. It's 2 events in one as well, if I remember rightly.
Yeah. So it's taking place on September the 14th at the Epic Studios in Norwich, and there is a matinee daytime show that I believe starts at 1 o'clock, and then there is also an evening show. So you can come along and get not just one show, but 2 shows, getting everything that happens live, and it is also being recorded. So I'm so excited for the return. I was so shocked to find out that pretty much ever since WOS went away, they've been planning and working to come back and bring it back better than ever. And I think that we all have that opportunity to make this an incredible, amazing thing for British wrestling. And to be wrestling for a brand that is so prestigious, like World of Sport. The most common thing I get when I tell people in real life that like aren't wrestlers, when I tell people that I wrestle, they're like, "Oh yeah, like World of Sport." That is literally my most common answer. And to think that I'm going to be able to, well, I can say I'm part of World of Sport. Like I'm wrestling for WOS World of Sport is so much fun, and it's so amazing. And I can't wait September to get in the zone and go out there and hopefully enjoy every single second of it. And may even be crowned the new champion.
Never say never. Never say never, right?
Well, 25% chance, one in 4. Let's go.
Absolutely. So, one thing I've always wondered is, being a wrestler yourself, do you get a chance to watch wrestling from like a fan's point of view?
I really try to watch wrestling as a fan. I really try now to not overanalyze it, because for many years it did take the fun out of it. Like when I was just like studying wrestling to try and understand it better and understand how it worked more and understand like what was successful and why things worked well, or how to do certain maneuvers and counters, or when I was analyzing how other people utilize the ring, it did take a lot of the enjoyment out of it for me. And I did fall into a lull of not really keeping up with the wrestling and with the popular brands and shows. But now I just try and watch it as a fan, because I got into this because I absolutely love wrestling. And sometimes it is a lot. Like I do get quite behind on like the main brands, because it's hard trying to like wrestling every single weekend, going to the gym, watching your own stuff back so that you can share that to social media, or see how you did in yourself and try and improve on things. But I love watching like the UK indies. I love watching my other friends doing well and going out there and absolutely killing it. And I think that's what I'm kind of most passionate about at the moment, is watching all of my fellow UK superstars.
A lot of fans also I speak to say is there's that much wrestling, it's impossible to keep up.
Yeah, absolutely. Like there's just, and it's amazing that there is so much wrestling. Like I'm so happy that there is wrestling for everyone, especially now that things like the death matches, and like there really is like a style of wrestling for absolutely everyone. Or there's the friendly shows, all the way up to those crazy extreme sort of matches and shows. So it's really amazing that there is so much, but it does make it almost impossible at times.
Do you have like a different approach for like a family show to like a, let's say like an over 18 show, or is it like the same like in a zone, or do you have like a different pre-match like type thing?
It's definitely like a different feeling for sure. Like a family show, you know that you're there to like interact with the kids, and you know sometimes it's a lot more like easygoing, and you know you're there to just make sure everybody in that building has like an amazing, or in my case, not so amazing time if I'm playing the villain. Whereas at an over 18 show, you know, it's more likely that there are going to be stipulation matches, which you do have to prepare for slightly differently. And also, you know, you have a lot more freedom of speech. You know, people can swear and you can really say whatever you want on the mic. Whereas sometimes, if you've had like back to back over 18 shows, you get to a family show and you get on the mic and you're like, oh my God, don't swear, don't swear, don't swear. Like, don't say anything bad, don't say anything bad.
I imagine you like your own worst critic as well, doing stuff like that with please don't swear, please don't swear, please don't swear.
Yeah, and then of course when you're saying to yourself, please don't swear, it just makes you want to swear.
I guess that's the natural healing, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. It's like me and my sister, we've had an ongoing joke that we always call the copper box arena the copper pot. And I can't even tell you where it came from, but it just did. And every single time we refer to it in my household, it's the copper pot. So when I grabbed that microphone at York Hall after slamming Alex Windsor through a table, I got on the mic. First of all, the mic wasn't even on, which was set. I was like, for God's sake, come on. And I was just like, don't say copper pot, don't say copper pot, don't say copper pot.
Did you say copper pot?
No, I didn't. Woo! I said copper box, but it was a close call. It really was.
I'm going to throw this obviously other question in from Craig Taylor. It's kind of like a two-part question, so I'll say the first part, then the second part.
Yes, Craig, come on.
So it says, with you being the current PWE Women's Champion, how do you feel about working with up-and-coming talent?
Well, I've got my PWE Championship right here. Knew there would be something of this kind. Look how absolutely beautiful it is, by the way. I don't know how many people have seen this proper up close and personal.
Oh, wow. I love that design.
It is so beautiful and it is so heavy. It's maybe one of the heaviest belts I have ever held.
Wow. I love that design. Oh, straight away, I love that design.
Isn't it absolutely stunning? Yeah, oh, champion. Sorry, I distracted myself there with what was the question?
Okay, so yeah, the first part was, with you being the current PWE Women's Champion, how do you feel working with up-and-coming talent?
I absolutely love it. Give me anyone, and especially if they're up and coming, it means the likelihood is I'm more experienced than them, so I will keep my precious championship for even longer. So yeah, absolutely bring it on. Bring it on. Thank you for your awesome question, Craig.
And the second part to this was, and in your eyes, who's the next up-and-coming talent that is not booked on the big independent shows yet?
Oh, this is so difficult. This is so hard. I find questions like this really, really, really difficult. Oh, do you know what? I really don't know. It's difficult because everyone that I interact with are booked to some sort of level on the independent circuit. You know, whether they're doing the more like low level shows or whether they're doing like the super duper top tier shows, the majority of people I'm around are, you know, involved in the independent circuit. I am, yeah, do you know what? Honestly, I don't know if I can answer that, Craig. You've absolutely stumped me there. I bet you someone's going to slide into my inbox and be like, what are you talking about? It's me. But
Uh,
honestly, I guess everyone will just have to wait and see.
there you go. Hopefully, Craig, that kind of answers your question, probably. Dear. Now, this next question kind of stumps a lot of people, but it's more to like promote yourself a little bit. So, for people who's not obviously familiar with yourself, why should they go check out Nightshade?
Come check me out because first of all, I absolutely love wrestling. I love it so, so much. So we should share that love for wrestling together. I just genuinely absolutely love doing this and put my all into it. I feel like every year is more and more of a success. I've thankfully had some like good reviews and people rating my matches quite well and seem to find me entertaining to some degree. So, just come on the ride with me. Like who knows where this wild thing is going to take me. And you can also just follow my journey. If you've ever wanted and considered of becoming a wrestler, but you don't want to put your body on the line or all of the absolute hours that it takes, you can kind of live your life through me a little bit and see all of the adventures that the world of pro wrestling makes.
There you go. An absolutely amazing answer. So, this next one, it's kind of like a 180 on that. So, for fans of yours, what do they not know about you, though?
Oh, I thought some fans know more than others. For example, I have a Patreon page, which is so personal. Like on my Patreon page, I do vlogs of like all of my international trips. So I will literally sit and vlog and like we'll kind of talk like this to the Patreons and they know what I'm going through. And it's also been amazing because I've also kind of opened up when I've not had such an easy time. Like I went over to Japan for 2 months. I was there literally this time last summer, with Marvelous. And 2 months was the longest I've ever been away in a totally foreign country before. So, I had some struggles missing home, trying to adjust to the crazy training regime. And I felt really great that I was able to have my patrons there that I could lean on. And I kind of updated them like with my journey entirely along the way. So something that people don't know is kind of difficult. That's a really hard. You're asking all the hard questions, honestly. What is something that people don't know? Well, I don't know if this is such a boring answer. I was gonna say I don't know if people know this, but people probably will assume. I was gonna say this is my natural hair color. So many people in wrestling love to do, dye the hair, change up the hair, different colors, streaks, all sorts to pop a bit under those lights. And this is my natural hair color. So I am ginger.
Natural ginger ear as well, by the way.
Woo! But I guess that's a
Uh,
boring answer, isn't it? Because everyone can look at me and know that because I'm so pale.
don't worry about it. Like I said, it's just like to obviously up it up a little bit, elevate. I mean, I'm actually smiling so much. It's absolutely great.
People. Okay, if you're new here and you don't know me, everyone that knows me knows this. I am addicted to Monster Energy drink.
Which flavour though?
This is actually one of my favourites, the Lewis Hamilton one. It is.
I,
Oh, what?
I prefer the purple punch. This is probably one of my favourites.
Oh my gosh. I really like the tropical sort of flavors, like the tutti fruity flavors. But I think they don't really make a bad one, to be fair. So I absolutely love Monster. I hope one day they will sponsor me and I'll have a Monster sponsorship. I also, one that's a lot less common for people to know, is that I absolutely love playing my Nintendo Switch.
Oh, what's the
It's
go-to
like
game?
one of my it changed. I like to like sit in complete games. I don't like to like flip back and forth. Like I want to start it, complete it, and like absolutely 100% it. Right now, I just got for my birthday Princess Peach Showtime. So I'm playing that currently. But I love the Mario games. I constantly play Mario Kart. Like I literally love just sitting there and playing Mario Kart and trying to get all of the 3 stars and all the trophies. I am a huge, huge, huge Legends of Zelda fan.
Oh, now we're talking.
I said Breath of the Wild is probably like when that came out, I said that was the best / my favorite game I've ever played. Which I really struggled to have favorites. That was a big deal there.
I'm just so happy you said Zelda. I'm a massive Zelda fan.
I love the Zelda franchise. I think it's so good.
Absolutely. So a few little more questions will begin to wind down. One thing which stood out for me when I was obviously doing research for this, I was watching some of your matches, is your entrance and your entrance music. Talk about putting that together, because that is probably one of my favorites I've seen.
Oh, really? Do you know, recently I've had quite a few people commenting on my music. Like someone said to me the other day I was at a show and I had 2 matches and I won the first match. So it played like 5 times. In, out, in 3 times. Oh. Well, anyway. So I played 3 times and they were like, oh, I've got your entrance song stuck in my head. I just absolutely love it. So a lot of the time now, it's difficult to use recognizable songs because so many of the companies will stream their events or upload it onto YouTube and you don't want to get copyright banned. You know, people want to make their money. So I had to create a copyright-free track for my entrance music. And I was inspired. I wanted something like that just embodied kind of Nightshade and who I am in the ring. So I wanted something like dramatic and but kind of eerie and like mysterious at the same time. And I loved like it has a lot of like almost like gunshots kind of throughout it and like bangs and like crashes. So I really wanted to create that sort of drama throughout the song. And I went to a studio actually. I worked with Kayfabe Music to create that. And we went to the studio and I'd written the lyrics. There's only lyrics for like the first entry portion, and the rest of it is just like the dramatic crashes, crash bang wallops, and then me saying like Nightshade and laughing and things. But it's actually my own voice on the music, and I did write the little introductory piece myself as well. So that was a really fun journey to go through.
That is a fascinating story. I don't think I've ever spoken to anybody who's actually wrote their own entrance music.
Yeah, wrote it myself, and I would say sing, but it's really not sung, is it? It's more spoken, whispered.
But it stands out. That's obviously what we're talking about. Obviously, your entrance stands out because in wrestling, I've always said that the entrance is obviously a big part of a wrestler as well.
Definitely. Definitely. That's something I love the most. Like I've always been so interested in like performing arts. And for me, like the entrance and the performance is just such a big part of it. And I think that's one of the reasons I love the wrestling so much is because like I've created this alter ego that is completely and utterly different to myself. And I get to go out there like with this badass, like I also sketch like almost all of my costumes and all of my outfits. Like I sketched my big entrance piece, these like flowing arms that I wear. And it's like I just feel like I've genuinely created my own like superhero / villain, and that's who I am when I'm on the stage.
That's brilliant. This has been absolutely terrific. You spoke about it earlier on, but what would you say is like a big misconception about a wrestler?
Oh, a big misconception. I think I think something that people don't realize is how much time is put into it. You know, because they'll see you have a 10-minute, 15-minute match, but actually it's so time consuming. And I think that's one of like the biggest misconceptions. Yeah, I think it's quite a difficult question again. I don't know. Yeah, it's a hard answer, but I do think it's underappreciated how much time people put into becoming and being a wrestler. You know, it's not an easy thing to do.
Okay, so one final thing before we head off and stuff like that is, what's the goals obviously for you now for the rest of the year? You've obviously, like you said, you've worked with so many great talent, traveled around the world so much. I mean, what's left for obviously for you to like achieve for the rest of the year?
Oh, see, rest of the year is frightening because I can't believe we're already in the middle of August. Like, even though I feel like I've had an incredible year, I just don't know where it's gone. Like, genuinely, how are we halfway through August? It's beyond me. But for the rest of the year, obviously, I have the big copper box match. Almost a copper pot. I've got the big copper box match in 2 weekends' time. So I really hope one of my goals is that our team absolutely destroys the Cutthroat Collective and we leave them begging us for mercy. I also hope that I one of my goals is to become the new WOS Women's Champion. Imagine if I could add that to my collection. One of my goals for the rest of this year is to not lose my Pro Wrestling Eve Tag Team Championship or my Pro Wrestling East Championship, because Pro Wrestling East are actually going on a hiatus. They're having to take a bit of time off. I think they're taking the entire of 2025 off. So I want to be going out as their champion, and I can keep the belt on my little shelf where I display all of my belts, and I wake up every single day and I look at them and it makes me happy and makes me want to go to the gym because that is tough for me, honestly. It's not my favorite thing. Um, I would also love to go out to Japan again this year. Yeah, that would be a big goal of mine. And I think for future goals, I've never wrestled in America, which is kind of
Interesting.
crazy. Yeah, it's crazy considering how much of a huge market the American market is. You know, all of the big companies are based in America. So that's kind of crazy, but then at the same time, it is the opposite side of the world, you know? So it's like it's difficult to expect a company to invest that much into you to bring you over there to wrestle when they have such incredible talent on their doorstep. But yeah, I've never wrestled in America, and I would also absolutely love to do a tour of Down Under. I'd love to
Yeah.
go to Australia and New Zealand and yeah, wrestle there and just see what that's like.
Wow. There you go. Craig Taylor says, any new merch coming anytime soon?
Okay, so I need to ask a question. So you can't tell what I'm wearing right now, but I'm wearing my old design of my old t-shirt, right?
Okay.
So I don't know whether, because I am pretty much entirely sold out of all of my merch currently. I need to do a big restock of merch. I don't know whether I should get this reprinted because this
Yep.
is like my favorite design I think I've ever had,
Okay.
or if I should get a brand new design.
Oh, interesting. What do you think? I mean, what does Craig think? What does the fans think? Do you know what,
Cra-
guys? Put them in the comments.
Everyone watching right now, let me know. Do you? But the problem is, people already have this one. You know, like even though it's such a cool design and it's awesome, I feel like everyone that wants it already has it. But I don't know how to make a better design than this because I just love it so much. Do you know what I mean?
Craig's come back and says, got all of them, so a new one for me.
Oh, I know it's going to be the answer. Well, what would you guys want to see in a new design? Because even though I draw my own wrestling outfits and I did come up with like each concept of my t-shirts and stuff, I'm not very good at designing the merch, I don't think. So coming up with inspiration is a bit more difficult for me. But I just want it to be amazing.
I speak to you now.
I know, Craig. I know exactly who you are, and I absolutely love chatting to you every Pro Wrestling East show. I'm so sad that we've only got 2 more shows left, but I'm sure that they will be back better than ever.
And with Nightshade still the champion.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I can't believe they're stitching me up next show as well. Get this, it's me versus 3 other girls.
What? Why?
See, I'm unsure whether it's like a handicap, like 3 versus 1, or whether we're all in this together and it's like a 4-way.
I guess it remains to be seen when you arrive, right?
Yeah, Craig, do you have any clarity on that? I know you always know. You always know the PWEs going on.
This has been an absolute fun chat, Nightshade. Before we head off, is there anything you'd like to plug yourself?
Yes, follow me on all of the social media platforms. I am Nightshade Wrestler on Facebook, Nightshade Wrestler on Instagram, Nightshade PW on Twitter, or should I say X? And I also have a Patreon. I know, I say literally, I only say Twitter. It will forever be Twitter to me. And I also have my Patreon, which is Nightshade Wrestler. Yeah, literally Nightshade Wrestler. And I have my big cartel where you can buy the remainder of my t-shirts. I have quite a few Lampshade t-shirts left. So, and I absolutely will not be restocking the Lampshade merch. So if you guys have thought about getting a Lampshade t-shirt and you want one, hop over to my big cartel. I also have our Operation SAS, Strong and Sexy, with my tag team partner Sky Smithson t-shirts on there. And keep your eyes peeled because very soon, hopefully for the Copper Box, I will, which is only 2 weeks away. How is that only 2 weeks away? I will be having a load of brand new 8x10s and pictures available for sale too.
There you go. There you go. Thank you so much, obviously, taking the time to talk to us. It's been an absolute blast. Good luck, obviously, at the Copper. I nearly said Copper Box. I don't even know what I was saying. I said it's Copper Summit.
Copper pot. Copper pot. Copper pot.
Roll the outro.
Thanks for having me.